Good afternoon, McDonald's owner-operators. Thank you all for joining the first NFLA All-Owner-Operator Update of 2024, and Happy New Year to each of you. I hope you all enjoyed the holiday season and that you took time to relax, disconnect, and spend time with family and friends. I'm looking forward to 2024 and all that we can accomplish together as one system. Today's meeting is being recorded and is intended for McDonald's owner-operators only. The information that will be shared today is confidential and is not to be shared outside of the system. If you are not a McDonald's owner-operator, please disconnect at this time. Before I turn it over to Danielle Marasco, NFLA Chair, for opening remarks, I'll overview the purpose and content of today's call. Mike Hill will kick us off reviewing the 2023 NFLA key accomplishments and plan initiatives. Jimmy Williams, who leads the government relations team, will provide a federal GR update and updates from meetings that took place in the fourth quarter of 2023. Then Tim Morgan, who represents and leads the National Operator Insurance team, will share updates on the licensee plan for 2024, package insurance, and updates from the NOAA team and what they're working on. We'll pause for Q&A. You should have all received the Slido link to submit questions. Please take a moment to scan the QR code that will be displayed on the screen to submit any questions throughout the call. Joey, if you can go to the next slide so that folks have an opportunity to scan the code. Thank you. We'll do our best to get to all the questions, but any unanswered questions will go out with a recap. For this Q&A, Dan Roquebaum, Executive Director of McDonald's Licensee and RMHC Health and Welfare Plan, and Jeff Guckenberger, Owner-Operator Risk Manager, will join Tim Morgan to assist in answering any questions. The NFLA executive team met in late November to lay out our 2024 priority areas of focus based off of the 2023 Owner-Operator System Survey. The NFLA executive team has reviewed and analyzed the survey, and we appreciate the continued feedback. We encourage each of you to continue sharing your feedback, suggestions, and experiences to ensure we are advocating on your behalf and focused on the right things. The NFLA is proud of the achievements from 2023, but we understand there's still work to be done. Celia Jairala, Economics Team Lead, Kevin Lilly, PACE Team Lead, and David Costa, People Team Lead, will all overview key messaging and areas of focus for 2024 for their respective teams. Jonathan McGuire, MTech Team Lead, will overview workforce management, automatic business close, and he'll preview the 2024 roadmap. Then we'll pause for Q&A and close out the call. Please note that the 2024 NFLA calendar has been finalized and uploaded to Adam CD. We'll also be sending out a final copy of it via email to all owner-operators with a recap from this call. Please save the date for the first Economics Team Owner-Operator Education Session on January 25th from 10 a.m. to noon. And lastly, save the date for July 22nd and July 23rd for the annual NFLA Owner-Operator Business Meeting taking place in Las Vegas. Registration is set to open on March 1st. More details forthcoming. Thank you all again for joining, and we look forward to a productive call today. With that, Danielle, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you, Christina, and a Happy New Year to my fellow McDonald's owner-operators. Thank you sincerely for making the time to join the call today and for your ongoing commitment to brand McDonald's. The purpose of today's call, as Christina outlined, is to provide owner-operator leadership perspective on our business, review our 2023 NFLA accomplishments, and share our priorities for 2024. In addition, a few of our NFLA team leads will offer timely and important updates on upcoming initiatives as well. For the many who are experiencing winter and Arctic weather, I hope that you are staying safe and warm, and your employees and restaurants are too. Let me speak upfront today about our commitment to continuing to enhance and improve communication and to ensuring all owner-operators are kept informed. A majority of owner-operators have expressed their desire to hear the voice and perspective of elected owner-operator leadership, and we are committed to sharing that perspective with you every quarter. We will also be seeking your input on a more regular basis through surveys. We know that many of you would like these calls to happen jointly, and we do too. We are expressing to McDonald's the value of joint communications and open and transparent dialogue to the system. Later in this call, you will also hear some initial information on our NFLA All Owner Operator Summer Business Meeting. That will be happening this July in Las Vegas. We are working to make this meeting affordable, actionable, and a valuable use of 2 days of your time. I want to say today that I am proud of the efforts and commitment of our NFLA executive team. Our work together has been honest, respectful, and focused. We are determined to continue to execute plans, represent our owner-operator voice to McDonald's, and working with the senior leadership team on our 2024 Accelerating the Arches plan. Today, West Zone Representative Mike Keel will share several accomplishments from 2023 during his portion of our session. Early next month, the NFLA executive team and SLT will meet face-to-face together in the CBU DC area to see and experience a high-performing digital market and business unit. During that meeting, we will review the 2023 business results and discuss our plan for 2024. We will also have time for open discussion and other priority topics. Your input is welcome and encouraged on these subjects. Please share your thoughts with your NFLA representative. Our business remains strong. We have achieved real success in 2023 from a top-line sales and transaction standpoint through our digital growth with significant people improvements, operational improvements, and the growth of our cash flow. Our closest competitors cannot all say this. That is a fact. We are also aware that averages do not tell the whole story, and that there are some owner-operator organizations and some co-ops with results that do not match up to these averages. I cannot reiterate, underscore, and emphasize enough today that using the financial tools available, communicating and meeting with your advisors for financial and business is crucial as we navigate in today's environment. Hopefully many of you have seen the news article from Tuesday with the announcement that RBI is buying back 1,000 Burger King restaurants and will accelerate modernizing them. This is a significant industry development and should be eye-opening to all of us as Burger King is our industry. As we all executing our 2024 plan, our willingness to pivot and be nimble is more important than ever. This afternoon, I would like to thank OPNAD for its continued efforts working to plan and execute programs with McDonald's that resonate with today's consumer. Our brand is more relevant and iconic than ever. Just yesterday, NFLA superstar Jason Kelly's tweet about being at McDonald's, talking about his favorite breakfast meal and giving his favorite employee his signed jersey is a short example of this. I would like to officially welcome John Paul Maceo as our OPNAD chair. I look forward to working alongside you as a valued and respected partner. We have 13 newly elected NFLA representatives joining our organization this month, and we are eager to benefit from their fresh energies and ideas. Last year, our system welcomed almost 50 new folks into the unique society of approved owner-operators. They represent varied backgrounds of registered applicants, second and third generation, company employees, and spousal candidates. To those 50 of you new owner-operators joining today, welcome. You are a key part of the future of our system. I should also recognize and appreciate the dozens of owner-operators who hung up their spatulas in 2023. We cannot thank you enough for the time and energy put forth to build our brand. In addition, today I want to recognize Celia Idala, our NFLA economics team lead, who has made the decision to step down after 5 years of leadership within the economics team. Celia has provided respectable and credible leadership and advocacy for the system, and we all thank you, Celia. As pleased as we are with our successes this past year, we are not naive about the challenges facing our system. To be clear, we have hurdles ahead, both externally and internally, and we will address them directly with leadership. We will be transparent about how the challenges impact our business and our system, and more than just register the concerns, we will work to offer pivots and solutions. As I have said before, and I repeat today, we will identify and focus in on what we can control. We will use facts from our real-world experience to influence future initiatives and policies, and we will work to provide relevant resources to each of you. The economics of this business continues to evolve. Cost shifting has occurred, and our new business channels require additional investments to operate. You can be assured that the NFLA economics team, along with OPNAD leadership, are fully aware of these developments. They are undertaking due diligence and various efforts to ensure that these channels are profitable and the costs associated with their operation are properly allocated in our P&L. You can be sure, too, that we are dedicated to being effective and efficient in growing the business. For example, we also know that the voice offer now appearing on MLP pick tickets and curbside offers that cannot be edited or removed is creating some angst within the system, as this could be precedent setting for our ability to participate or not in programs. And it's one example of an issue that has our attention. Let me speak for a minute about government relations. Last year, we saw firsthand the vital need for owner-operator engagement with elected officials locally, at the state level, and at the federal level. Not because 2024 is a presidential election year, this area of focus will be near the top of our efforts to support and for which we will provide resources. Telling our story, developing relationships, and understanding issues is going to be vital for all of us. Every owner-operator can contribute to promoting and protecting our brand. Jimmy Williams will share today some of the material ways our involvement and telling our story is helping us to influence and achieve results for our business, and an example within our tax laws. This business is both an art and a science. We engage with millions of consumers in the United States daily. We average more than 55 employees per U.S. location and have hundreds of suppliers working to support our restaurants and back office 24 hours a day. The vast impact each of you has in your communities and the work you do to lead your organization are each vital to our system's success. In closing, I want to recognize and thank the entire NFLA executive team. Our team leads, the NFLA body, OPNAD, and NSLC for their continued work to lead, engage, and contribute on our brand journey. I'm looking forward to a productive call today. I welcome your constructive input and open dialogue, and most of all, I look forward to working together this year. Thank you.
Thank you, Danielle. We'll pass it over now to Mike Keel.
Thanks, Christina and Danielle, and good afternoon, everyone, and Happy New Year, owner-operators. This is Mike Keel, your West Zone NFLA rep, and I want to thank you for joining today. You know, as Danielle mentioned, while your NFLA will continue to work on your behalf, I just want to highlight some progress and some key accomplishments from this past year. You'll hear more on 2024's NFLA priorities a little bit later in the webcast. Next slide, please. Okay. So just a few areas in the area of people, you know, we had the People Brand Standards program. There were some enhancements. There were training requirements that were postponed for 2 years due to the ongoing issues that were identified. There was also collaboration on the modernization of the new crew training tools. And then, of course, as you all saw, the 1 in 8 campaign was fully supported by the NFLA and OPNAD and all your operator leadership. Next slide, please. In the area of franchising and PACE and the PACE program, we had several PACE program updates. Some of the included updates were the removal of visits on Sundays, the unbundling of questions, and then no loss of points for back-ordered equipment, which was out of the control of the restaurant, or, for instance, if you had a sign blow down and it was 6 months out, no longer were those points going to be taken off because you were waiting on a sign to be produced. There was also a change to the cure process with a 48-hour notice for your 2 visits. Of course, no visits during the and from. And then the follow-up on food safety was for critical food safety failures. In the area of franchising, more specific, one of the biggest significant changes that we advocated extremely hard for the whole year was a removal of the GEM measurement and qualified to buy status. Now, the GEM measurement still exists on your segmentation, but no longer is it linked to being qualified to buy restaurants. And we also had some NRBES changes and extensions, which allowed us to properly prepare for upcoming reinvestments. Next slide, please. In the area of economics, we had several very valuable educational sessions that the economics team had facilitated for us, and hopefully you had a chance to take advantage of those. There was a co-development of tools for capital expenditures and ensuring we have good CapEx planning. A deep dive into the economics of delivery. There was an educational session dedicated just to that, which was very beneficial. Delivery sales adjustment protocol to ensure rent and service fees are properly recorded and paid for and accurate, and that we weren't overpaying rent and service fees. And then, of course, continued work by the NOIT team on cost savings for insurance programs and for coverages. Next slide, please. And then just to sum it up, some plan initiatives. We had a lot of collaboration, and NFLA was fully supportive of Best Burger rollout as well as Ready on Arrival rollout. The MTech team, incredible work on creating the MTech University and modernizing of the OTP program. And then the menu experience team's work to help launch our first limited time offer sauce event, which was Mambo and sweet and spicy jam. And then menu experience team's work to support our core extension programs for Quarter Pounder with Cheese, McCrispy, and McFlurry. So I just want to thank everyone for your time today. I'd like to turn it over to the one and only Jimmy Williams for a government relations update. Thanks so much.
Absolutely, and thank you so much, Mike, for that. Certainly, a top of the afternoon to everyone out there. I'd like to thank everyone, especially those who call me, and a lot of folks call me concerning government relations. I think it's so very important, and I think the work we're doing across the country is absolutely incredible. I got a couple of stories to share with you, and I will do that a bit later. Certainly, some congratulations are due out there. The new Vice President of Federal Government Relations, certainly for government global policy, is Sam Tatayason. He's been with us for a minute. He's done a wonderful job in Washington, D.C., worked favorably with Blake, with Clark, with Victor, and many others. So a very positive thing there. Certainly bringing along Melissa Walsh, Vice President for State and Local GR, she's going to put together a strategic plan, a state and local plan that will help us. We do have a threat to our business on the state and local level as well as the federal level. Certainly the work that Michael Gonda, John Banner are doing, certainly with their team, with Rachel and Sam, very proud to work with them as well as the GR reps around the country. Talking about the threat to our business, I'm going to look forward right now in my comments. The beginning of 24 has been interesting, and your GR team has continued to advocate for the system. I've gone to Washington, D.C. twice in the last month. Once to talk about the joint employer issue, the liability issue, the issue on whether or not we own our stores, and certainly to celebrate Martin Luther King, his birthday, which was very important. Just got back from Washington, D.C. With that. But certainly my job, as I've told many of you all, government relations is an information system. It measures, it processes, it communicates information, it advocates. And in this forum, we're concentrating on three things. Certainly labor and franchising, tax and fiscal issues, certainly extremely important, those kitchen table issues for us, and also workforce. So let me talk about labor and franchising first, what we're doing on that front with the joint employer issue. And I know we've talked about this before, but certainly it's worth talking about now because things are coming to a head. After proposing an expanded joint employer standard in 22, the National Labor Relations Board, the NLRB, released its final rule on October 26, 23. On November 7th, a coalition of industry groups led by the U.S. Chamber of Commerce filed a lawsuit in the federal United States District Court for the Eastern District of Texas seeking to vacate the new NLRB rule. The lawsuit asserts the new rule will displace long-standing and widely accepted common law standards of joint employment, destabilize relationships, and erase distinctions among legally separate entities, and threaten billions of dollars in liability and costs. In response to the recent legal challenge, the NLRB announced it will extend the effective date of the rule from December 26, 2023 to February 26, 24. As a reminder, the new standard will only be applied to cases filed after the rule becomes effective. In addition to the litigation, the U.S. House of Representatives and U.S. Senate introduced Congressional Review Act, the CRA, joint resolution of disapproval to overturn the NLRB's new rule. Currently, over 120 diverse large and small business organizations support the CRA. Franchisees and small business owners from across the country have been contacting members of Congress, many of them McDonald's franchisees. Thank you so very much. Sharing their stories of small business ownership and how this new expanded rule will impact their businesses, their family businesses. Thanks to the early outreach from franchisees across the country, on Friday, the U.S. House approved the joint employer resolution in a bipartisan fashion, 206 to 177. 8 Democrats voted with all Republicans. The 8 Democrats were Representatives Amy Barra out of California, Lou Correa out of California, Scott Peters out of California, as well as Jim Costa, Joe Courtney out of Connecticut, Don Davis out of North Carolina, Henry Cuellar out of Texas, and Ed Case. The joint employer resolution now moves to the U.S. Senate, which could take the measure up within weeks. We will continue to conduct outreach to U.S. senators to ensure there is strong bipartisan support in the Senate. On the child labor front, child labor enforcement. Child labor continues to be a top issue for the Department of Labor. Certainly from a regulatory perspective, and we've talked about this before, we're taking a lot of heat, the franchise model in general. And it's leading to increased enforcement actions against us and against employers. It is important as owner-operators that we are implementing best practices when employing anyone under the age of 18 and ensuring that we adhere to all local and federal regulations. From a tax perspective, and I talked about this, and I consider it a kitchen table issue for us because it's about our bottom line, small business taxes. several important small business tax provisions that benefit owner-operators and other small business owners have begun expiring. The examples are Section 179 bonus depreciation, 163 interest expense deduction, are all scheduled to expire at the end of 25. Reduced individual income tax rate, Section 199 alpha pass-through deduction, estate tax exemption, and WOTC. Advocacy for renewal and or extension of these policies is ongoing. On the 16th of the month, chairs of the House and the Senate Tax Writing Committees announced a possible agreement on a package that would extend Section 179 bonus depreciation and 163 interest expense deduction through 25. While uncertainty remains, this is a positive sign that important small business provisions are being addressed. And I must at this point say to everyone a big thank you to Nolan Ruiz here in St. Louis. Nolan and I are going to host Jason Smith early second quarter in St. Louis. He's a representative from our area. He chairs the powerful House Ways and Means Committee, and he's a big supporter of small business. To that point, if I could for a second to talk about the relationships and how do we build relationships with lawmakers. I alluded to it earlier in the conversation when I said I had to say something about this. In Washington, D.C. Earlier this week, I came back to the hotel and I stopped to have a Coca-Cola at the bar. And I sat next to this guy who had a distinct Southern drawl. I looked at him and I thought I knew who he was from watching, on the news channel, the news cycle, etc. I didn't say anything. The bartender said something, and certainly I did know of him. So I introduced myself to him, and we had a delightful conversation. I told him I knew someone I thought he knew. And he talked to me about the Retzers down in Mississippi. And he mentioned to me all the things they had done for the state, for the country. But then he said something else, and he talked at length about the family. And the reason I want to mention that is, the best way to get to know someone is just to invite them around, invite them to your store, get to know them. And after that, things come a little bit easier. You can talk about bigger issues. But the first step is to get to know someone. And when I talked to Haley Barber at the bar, it was clear that he knew the Retzer family and respected them. And so, what I did? I called Mike Retzer and I said, Retz, can you talk to Haley Barber? And they had a delightful conversation. And I just smiled. Because at the end of the day, it was easier for me to talk about the issues that relate to us. Well, the same thing with the Asphalt family in Colorado when I was there earlier last year. On their Rolodex, you know what? They have everybody on their Rolodex, and they can reach out and touch folks and talk to them, friends and foe alike. That's extremely important. Danielle Marasco, what she's doing down in Texas. Certainly Perry Krause, Marty Davis, Jonathan McGuire in Tennessee calling me as well about talking to legislators. It's something that we're going to have to start doing more of, but I will also say we are doing more of it. Identifying our local elected officials, attending town hall meetings and local community events, just getting to know people, gatekeepers in your community, so very important. And remember, invite folks to your restaurant. I know that 90% of what we do is run our business. So let's invite people to our restaurant. Show off what we're doing, whether it's how we're running our restaurants, Archways to Opportunity, Coffee with the Cop, Coffee with the Mayor. Talked to David Berry the other day. He's having hot chocolate in the afternoon, inviting legislators by or gatekeepers by the restaurant to have a conversation. We do this. This is naturally what we do as owner-operators. A little bit about our federal PAC and Victor. As I've said to you all before, and repeating stuff is repeating stuff, but, government relations is an information system. It measures, processes, communicates, advocates about an identifiable entity. In this case, it's McDonald's. It's our system. We know that. But there are certain inputs we need. And so the calls I get, very valuable. It gives me information. Internally, it gives me information how I can have a conversation with, let's say, Sam or Michael or John about, what the thought is out here. But in addition to that, what? This is politics, and we need a little bit of money. And so when Victor makes the call out, please respond. At the end of the day, That's an input in this system that we need. We reach out, and for the last year and a half, have been talking about these, the small business issues that are affecting us. Let's say the expiring 2017 tax cuts. And we reached out to almost every legislator out there. It's important this year that we have a little bit of money. So please, if you can, give to the PAC. And I should say this too, and it's only for a few folks, but on February 13, 14, we're going to meet in Washington, D.C. We're gathering a lot of the national GR reps from especially the high priority states for an in-person meeting in D.C. During this meeting, and it's a 2-day meeting, we will discuss the legislative and regulatory landscape for 24. It's an interesting one, as well as our strategy to protect and enhance our reputation and the system's reputation. We will hear from various internal and external experts about the high priority issues and what we're going to do. So with that said, if you have any questions or ideas, please email me or call me, Jimmy Williams, james.williams@partners.ncd.com. Would love to hear from you. Anyway, thanks a lot. Christina?
Thank you, Jimmy. And now we'll turn it over to Tim Morgan, NOAA team lead, for his update. Tim?
Thank you, Christina, and Happy New Year to everyone. Listen, it's a privilege to serve as your elected NOAA chair for these last 3 years. In the next few minutes, I'm going to give you an overview of where we are with the team, where we are with our health insurance, and most importantly, our upcoming renewal for the package insurance program on March 1. I want to tell you that, remind everyone that Jeff Guckenberger, he's actually not on the call. He's returning to Florida from an insurance meeting we had yesterday. He is our U.S. Operator Risk Manager. He works solely for McDonald owner-operators, and he reports to NOAA. I do have on the call Dan Rolfan, who is our Executive Director of the McDonald's Licensee Health Plan. Dan works now for NOAA directly, administering our health plan. In addition to that, the NOAA team made a strategic decision on January 1st of 2024 to hire Dave Bartlett, who was the former Vice President of Insurance for McDonald's. Dave has been in and around NOAA for literally 15 years. He has global experience in insurance, insuring almost all the McDonald's worldwide, and he's helping us as we work with excess insurance limits, and we will work on our program evolution so that we are not subject to worldwide insurance market pricing volatility to the degree we are today. Dave's background in law and contracts will help us immensely going forward. In addition to that, we lost, with McDonald's accelerating the organization, the ability for the legal department to oversee our high-cost claims or brand-damaging claims. We had a gap in that, and Dave will help now fill that. And I also want to do a little education here about what we're faced with, which isn't great news from a worldwide insurance perspective. In 2023, there were 28 separate weather and climate disasters costing at least $1 billion alone in the United States. Damages worldwide from natural disasters were $92 billion. These national catastrophic disasters are supposed to occur one time in every 250-year cycle, but worldwide we had 8 in the last 12 months. I recently met with all of our brokers recently and the carriers, and they're suggesting that these threats now are existential. We could not complete the 2024 insurance offering without the evolution of technology that we've done over the last 5 years. I want to ground everyone in the electronic renewal process, with almost all data fields now automated for the 12,500 stores in the U.S. We needed that technology change so that we could have all the necessary data so that we can move to a more broad-based insurance options. In fact, some of the great work is our ability to now have a database of all the losses for the last 4 years on a per-store basis. We have never had that prior. We couldn't determine in prior periods losses from a system-wide perspective and or demonstrate them so that we could sell the viability of our program to other carriers. I want to point out the composition of NOAA in the slide that's before you. We have 15 members. We have one from each field office, and we have, you can see the diversity representation from each of the diversity groups there. I want to encourage any of you to reach out to them if you have any insurance issues, or myself, or Jeff, or Dan. Next slide, please. So a little bit about health. Healthcare costs are rising at a phenomenal rate in the U.S., faster than inflation. Size matters. Our health plan is the largest and oldest health plan in the United States. It is a multiple employer welfare arrangement as defined by the IRS. We insure 40,000 human souls. Now, the size matters because we do leverage our size and scope of the operator system to bring very large group savings to our program and offerings. The NOAA team actually gets down and granular to define what the program will actually cover and what the cost will be throughout the entire year. Now, I want to caution you, some of the feedback we always get is you don't always get what you want. For instance, not all drugs or treatments are created equal, and they're not all covered. And the reason for that is to protect the program. I'll give you an example with GLP-1 drugs like Ozempic or Wegovy. These are weight loss drugs that are more than $1,000 a month and have questionable results long term. And so currently, no plan in the United States offers them, not just ours. We recently received tremendous savings by renegotiating our prescription drug coverage that benefited the plan. In fact, our plan and the renewal for January 1 of 2024 went up on average 3.2% nationally. Health insurance plans went up 9 points. So that was a very good thing. The next slide, please. And I want to talk a moment about some of the other programs that we offer that aren't required, like voluntary benefits platform, medical premium rate recalibration. What that means is that every 3 to 5 years we look at the utilization costs for medical costs across the nation by zip code to see if one zip code is potentially subsidizing another. We've offered new dental options, new disability carrier, and I want to make comment about the Mercer administration migration. I know it's been somewhat painful for some, but longer term the system will benefit from the technology that was more than 20 years old. I want to spend a moment in particular on the National Telehealth Program. Now I want to make sure that everyone understands this is a voluntary program. It's not required. It was an ask of our NOAA team to come up with a national vendor because every corporation in America offers some form of telehealth. And so to fill that void, we did a request for proposal that we scored, and Doctor on Demand won. Others who bid were Teladoc and Direct2MD. Our plan covers mental health. It has 15,000 medical professionals across the nation, and we will have some more exciting news about this program in the near future as we approach the renewal for the contract. Next slide. So just for your edification about the Affordable Health Care Act and the Safe Harbor, their percentage for that for 2024 is going down to 8.39. I also want to point out, be very skeptical of programs that claim to use the FICA savings to provide free health care to your employees. We have a very large amount of evidence that the IRS has explicitly condemned these programs as illegal during audit. So I always tell everyone, everything's always, of course, deductible till you're audited. Be very careful in this arena. The IRS is fumbling its way through the ACA penalty reviews. Don't get caught unprepared. So that's what I would tell you about healthcare, but I want to spend a predominant amount of time on our package. So the next slide, please. So the package. I want to talk to you about some of the headwinds, and I'm not going to read the slide because I'm going to talk in general about really what we're doing here at NOAA to help the system during this worldwide insurance calamity. So rebuilds for fire range from $2.5 to over $5 million. And in fact, unfortunately, we have a complete burn down in Philadelphia this morning. We are limiting, as we go forward, carrier exposure to $2 million. They had a really hard time offering coverage on a replacement basis going from 0 to infinity. Now we're doing that, and we're going to create other forms of insurance with a tower that Dave Bartlett and Jeff are working on to take that risk over $2 million away from the 4 carriers that we currently use. And it's going to have a dramatic effect on the reduction of the premium. And I say the reduction in premium, I don't mean you're going to have your premium going to go down, but as you know, commercial rates worldwide could go up 40%. That's not going to be the arena that we're operating in. We're utilizing MOIC and reinsurance to soften this renewal insurance premium, and we're only able to do that through the data that we have, and it will only enhance as we move forward. I do want to point out that the deductible for the package is going to change to $10,000, and the reason why that is, from a system perspective, we're wasting a lot of money. We have 22,000 claims annually. Those claims cost more than $1,000 each just to report an index. That's $22 million. Moving the deductible to $10,000, while we know that is a marked increase from the $2,500, but the net system benefit now and in the future will result in an aggregate system savings. We estimate that we will eliminate about 60% of the paid claims. Our expectation is the package premiums will rise on this renewal of March 1 of 2024 about 20%, which is due to several moves. Is a large reduction from what we're seeing nationally in the commercial market. Please remember, some operators will be below that and some will be higher due to the geographical risk and claims loss experience for that specific operator. I want to talk a little bit about the umbrella. The umbrella for the renewal will go up to $2,750. That's an increase of only $100. We were able to sustain our umbrella with liability coverage on a $25 million per location basis because we're limiting the aggregate for the carrier to $200 million. And I say that because there was a real issue here. We had an underwriter retire at RSUI, and they wrote the insurance for literally every year that I can remember for $300 billion of aggregate coverage across the United States for $34 million. So the new underwriter saw that, as you can imagine, quite an imbalance. We were faced with many issues, but we did not want to lower the limit of the $25 million of liability per location because we've seen jury awards in excess of $15 million. And we could not go to $5 or $10 million and leave the operators exposed. This renewal was quite difficult given the market, but we are looking at longer-term options to protect us if we lose a carrier in this very specialized space. I want to talk a little bit about EPLI and D&O as the other form of insurance. Now that is going to increase in premium only $100 annually. It's going to be $1,885 for outside of California, and California gets a special gift of $3,870 per location. This is a NOAA endorsed program which provides, and I want to point this out, 800 helpline specific help, reduced deductible if you seek the helpline on a claim that you have, lawyers that are staffed for the helpline, and it includes D&O coverage. Now, I want to point out that we had to stop doing national webcasts because we had another non-NOAA endorsed carrier offering EPLI, meaning that because the NOAA endorsed program had only 80% of the system stores in it and not in excess of 90, we could not offer that benefit to the entire system in this year. We hope to recapture that in the coming year by having a flat renewal with the enhanced coverage that we have. Our NOAA endorsed policy covers D&O coverage, and we've had many claims because of the national program. We leverage our relationship with our national liability carriers and our EPLI carriers to make sure that there's no gap in coverage for our operators. We have had customer assaults, customer on customer, customer on crew, and sexual situations in restaurants where we've had gaps, but because the operator has our national EPLI program, we were able to insert ourselves for coverage. And that one of the system requests for EPLI for 24 that we are going to be able to do is offer an option to go from 1.3 million of coverage to 2.6 million for coverage, and that will only increase your cost to go to 2.6 million by 40% of the base insurance cost. Now, I want to remind everyone, wage and hour still have some limits of $250K, and in California, $150K. Now, I want to point out that Houston Casualty, or some of you may know them as Tokyo Marine, it might be slightly less expensive, but it does not get all of the NOAA-endorsed benefits, and it is in the betterment of the system that we stay together on our EPLI helpline. I'd encourage all of you to go to NOAA.com and apply and look at the resources there. And I'll go to the last slide, please. So I want to talk about the other coverages that you might be aware of. So workers' comp remained stable in 24. Cost increases were mostly made of higher payroll in mod fluctuations based on individual operator experience. Privacy, cyber liability insurance for 24 will be flat with no increase. Now process, it's open. We expect quotes to go out in the very early part of Florida, or the early part of February. We were in Florida working on, we have one carrier who has yet to sign the national broker agreement. So we expect that that it's done today or tomorrow, but you should be getting your quotes shortly. You all obviously get the safety posters that we send out. There's a reason for that. It helps you with Cal OSHA or OSHA in particular. One thing I do want to point out that always comes up is COVID is now excluded on all general liability policies, not just for McDonald's, but for the United States. And that's basically what I could tell you about insurance. I do expect, I will leave you with this one final thought, that Jeff and I get involved in helping operators in all parts of insurance. But if you have a claims issue and it's not adjudicated to your satisfaction, let myself or Jeff know, because we have actually benefited operators from thousands of dollars to over $1 million by us intersecting with our national carriers to help advocate for operators. And again, I'd encourage you all to go to NOAA.com. It's a robust website with a lot of information there. That's all I have, Christina.
Thank you, Tim. So we are going to pause for Q&A at the moment. If you can submit any questions via the Slido link. Okay, so Tim, we did have a question come in just now. It says, I saw on the slide, subsidize older employees. Can you elaborate on that, or if there are any programs out there?
Dan's on the line. I'll let him handle that one.
Thanks, Tim. I wanted to share and what that is referring to is under the ACA, there are affordability provisions, and operators are subsidizing incentives and affordability provisions to avoid penalties. But when we have
are you able to hear me? It's just a little. It sounds a little muffled. We're not able to hear you clearly.
It's any better.
No, not really.
I'll tell you what. I will send information on subsidizing older employees out, and we will be talking about it next Thursday on the Econ Bettercast with much better video. I apologize.
No, not a problem. I'll follow up with you offline, and I'll send over the questions so we can get them answered in the Q&A recap.
Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it. And then, Tim, there is another question you may be able to answer, but we do have some insurance questions rolling in. And if Dan will be the one to answer them, we can definitely send them offline. But if you could answer this one, is the deductible on liability also $10,000?
Yes, and some of the carriers will offer a higher deductible for those operators that choose that.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so we'll get these insurance questions that are coming in all together, and then we'll have them answered and sent out with the Q&A. I don't see any questions related to government relations that have come in at the moment. So we can go ahead now and we'll turn it over to Silvia Haidala, who will be overviewing the economics team's 2024 priorities and key messaging.
Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for the opportunity to highlight the work of the economics team. As mentioned and shown on the screen, The priorities have been streamlined to be encompassing across the major areas of focus. But allow me to provide a little more texture as it relates to economics and our priorities. Next Monday, you'll receive our newsletter, which will outline the priorities of the economics team for 2024. In addition to our team priorities, the newsletter reviews 2023 accomplishments, provides a comprehensive monetized NRBES list, and offers a guide to help when buying restaurants. Let me first begin with our team's priorities. The top being cash flow. Our goal is to work to capture more to the bottom line. With sales being strong, it is important that more flows through for the health and long-term sustainability of our business. We would like to partner with McDonald's to find efficiencies that flow through to the bottom. Our team is cognizant of the continued increase in promo and discount and aim to partner with OpNet's MEC to better understand the trajectory of these line items. We encourage, as you work within your local BUs, to be mindful of the promotions and discounting that gets layered upon national. We believe that our commitment to 3.2% advertising should be all-encompassing of local, national, promo, and discounting. We will continue to monitor and report on owner cash flow and financial health. Our next priority is reinvestment. In our conversations with McDonald's finance team, we strive to raise awareness and have them recognize that owners have a limited and finite amount of capital. This capital must be used in areas that produce the highest return and focus on areas that will grow our business. We have included a comprehensive list of NRBES in the newsletter for not only this year, but also what's on the horizon for 2025. The economics team first monetized the NRBES list in 2020. Since then, we have maintained and adjusted it as needed, which is twice a year. Please review and take a look at the details. Our third priority is policy review. With development ramping up, we think the time is right to review the new restaurant and impact policy. Since 2020, we've had record inflation, which has been over 18%. Moreover, top-line sales have grown considerably since the initial rollout of the new policy and way to calculate co-investment, and it's important that these policies be reviewed. The full list of the team's priorities for 2024 will be sent on Monday and are located within the newsletter. You'll also notice that at the top of the newsletter, there is a section highlighting things to consider for organizational planning. There are links embedded in the newsletter for resources such as Build Your Business, Build Your Profit, the Organizational Planning Tool, and My Store, which is a tool that can be used for planning for your individual restaurant. Please make sure you're registered for our continuing owner education session, which is next week on January the 25th from 10 to noon Central Standard Time. A reminder went out Tuesday and contained the registration link. This education session will offer helpful information on how to plan for a successful 2024. A senior economist from Wells Fargo will share his economic outlook, and NOI2 will offer more insight on what's driving both the package and health insurance markets. And the McDonald's finance team will review available business planning tools. We'll also have plenty of time for Q&A. We have our first quarter combined meeting with the McDonald's finance team scheduled for February the 6th, which will include a review of cash flow for the entire year of 2023 and an update on owner financial health. And finally, a reminder to be on the lookout for the economics team newsletter, which will be cascaded on Monday from the communications officer, Christina Montes. Thank you for the opportunity to represent you. It's been an honor and a privilege. And I'll turn it over to David Costa to discuss people priorities. David?
Hi, everyone, and thank you, Celia. And I do want to thank you so much for your leadership in the area of economics as a team lead. We will definitely miss you in that role, but I'm happy to connect with you otherwise. And we just really appreciate all the hard work that you and your team have done to help us in this area. It's insurmountable, and it's made a true difference. So thank you very much. Now I'll jump into our people section. And I want to let you know that we're starting out 2024 right in the area of our people, and we've made a serious focus on how we're going to ensure that we lead from a people perspective. And we've already ended 2023 with some record low turnover and record high staffing numbers, and so we're really starting to gain momentum in this area. At the same time, I'd be remiss if I didn't also acknowledge the fact that we have some significant challenges when it comes to the amount of stress and initiatives that are on our restaurant teams right now, and that's the feedback that I've heard from you all. We're winning with people. We're trying to do the right things for them. We're increasing their pay on average if you look at our average pay rate, and we're trying to also maximize our EVPs, but our people do still feel stressed. So with that, I'll read to you our statement that a top priority of the NFLA is to reduce the levels of stress on our people.
Well, what?
Stress is a significant cause of our GM turnover, and if not addressed, then it can undermine our business model over time. So some of the solutions we're seeking is that technology can be relied on to work properly so that it enhances our productivity, and that we ensure that we have our training modernized for our managers and staff, and continued modifications to the PACE program, as well as the number of visits. And the NFLA will continue to share and provide best practices and ways to activate and maintain the culture of care in our restaurants and organizations. And with that, I want to provide you a brief update that I've just been told that our training has now been updated to reflect the new questions on executed as designed in PACE within the FRED e-learning modules. So I recommend you take a look at that because we want to make sure that we're using the right training tools to ensure that that's taken care of for us as we're training our people to be able to make sure that we're executing as designed. In general, I would say something similar to what Jimmy said, and that is that your feedback is invaluable. So please continue to share feedback with me, with any member of the NFLA people team, so that we can then act upon that and advocate for it and ensure that the right people get the message when there are things that we need to have feedback on. We want to know what's working. We want to know what things we need to continue to work on and to fix. So please stay in touch on that, and thank you for the time today. I'm now going to turn it over to Kevin Lilly to talk about PACE.
Thank you very much, David. Good afternoon, everyone. Happy New Year, and we're off to 24. So a high priority of the NFLA and the NFLA PACE team is to make the restaurant inspection system equitable for all owner-operators rather than impose different standards based on the number of restaurants in an owner's portfolio. Currently, the thresholds for passing the CFB inspections vary significantly based on size, which goes against our expectation of equal treatment. We propose that an inspection pass rate of 75% of these visits should be applied uniformly across the system, taking the number of restaurants out of the equation. We will continue to ensure that the cure process is reasonable, and any edits or changes to that system based on feedback from the system, we will continue to ask McDonald's to make those adjustments. As PACE gears up and we receive results, feedback, as well as examine the data, we will continue to offer adjustments to McDonald's on behalf of the owner-operators. So additionally, let me add that the franchising team is committed to providing resources to owner-operators who are selling and buying to support sales between operator transactions. The NFLA franchising team will make a commitment in 2024 to share with all owner-operators best practices for the second generation and spousal program. So we look forward to a very prosperous and challenging 24. We look forward to your input and feedback in regards to PACE, and the team will advocate on your behalf, working with our McDonald's counterparts in MHQ. So with that, I will throw this now to Jonathan McGuire with MTech.
Thank you, Kevin, and welcome everybody, and welcome to 2024. Calling you here from what's normally warm and sunny Nashville, Tennessee, but I'm currently in my snow bunker. Hopefully everybody's restaurants are off to a good start and weathering the system of weather that's moving across the country well. I want to update you on a couple of things from an MTech perspective. We'll start with workforce management. We currently have our 2 vendors that are deploying their Alpha 1 release into select restaurants and organizations. The deployment calendar is being managed outside of technology. So, all technology has the ability to do is to vet the solution and ensure that it's ready for the restaurants, but the deployment is being managed outside of technology. And the deployment support for workforce management is included in the 2024 tech fees. So as you roll onto, or as your business unit is able to roll onto one of the workforce management platforms, you will not see those one-time charges that we've experienced in previous deployments. So there will be a lot of questions about those. As you look at your tech fee invoices, you will see the deployment for workforce management that's in lieu of the one-time charge. Currently, in Q4, we had 77 California McOpCos deploy into a hybrid version of LifeLens, and 68 HARRY deployments went into owner-operator organizations in California. In the first quarter of this year already, we've had the first of 4 waves that are currently in flight. And that's approximately 275 restaurants. I know that Carly Schrader in her organization has deployed 8 so far this year, with a plan for 7 more by the end of the month. So workforce management deployment is going well, working through the calendar as is managed by the operations team to ensure that things hit the restaurants appropriately. Automatic business daily cutover is another high priority that I've been asked about a lot. We currently have 62 restaurants have been deployed with automatic business daily cutover, which is affectionately called ABC. 16 of those restaurants are 24-hour restaurants. These have gone pretty much without issue, including the 24-hour restaurants. Feedback has been extremely positive from the operators and the organizations who are running this test, and we're very excited about this feature. The request has been made by the NFLA to deploy these BUs based on the 24-hour restaurant saturation, but we've made that request, but as I said, deployment is managed outside of technology, but the feature is ready, and it's simply waiting on prioritization. The current plan includes the deployment between Q2 and Q4 of this year. As far as our roadmap goes, I just want to repeat that the deployment prioritization is not managed within technology, but they get input from technology with respect to which features are ready for prime time and ready to go into the restaurants. Highlights from the roadmap are that the AOT test, the automated order taking test, is ongoing in Ohio. We know that there is some guest count erosion in the first test, and we're anxious to hear the results of this test and see what it means for the future deployment of this very critical solution. We do hear from owners in the Ohio area that the deployments in test have been paused. This is not exactly what we're hearing from our technology partners, so we're going to have to yield to our partners over in the operations side who manage that deployment calendar to get clarification on the potential pause in deployments. But I know that some restaurants have been deployed, and as far as we're concerned, we're still waiting for this test to be deployed and the results to come back. We have raised many questions, as previously mentioned, about pulling forward efforts such as automatic business daily cutover, which are ready for our restaurants, but have been told repeatedly that this, that the prioritization of the deployments are outside of the scope of technology. So, MTech owners are working to get better visibility and voice in these decisions, but currently that's not part of our process. We just want to make sure that the solutions are ready. So we've got a lot of exciting things in the pipeline for 2024 that are on the roadmap. Some things that we won't notice, such as some cybersecurity, multi-factor authentication, network as a service, and ArchOS, putting all of our systems on the same platform. And some that will make a big splash in our restaurants, such as the GMA order cancel button that's coming in Q2, automatic business daily cutover, and the DMB 2.0. One question that we've been asked several times this year, or last year, as it relates to solutions that are have been presented or adopted by a large number of owner-operators and BUs that are not part of the approved suite of technology solutions that are supported by our system. Our work is a great example of this. U.S. Technology reviews these solutions as they're requested by various NFLA and company teams. Some are prioritized and some are not, based on their availability of similar solutions already in our stack, features and their usefulness across the system, stability of the solution platform, stability of the vendor. In the case of our work, the solution is used by many organizations and BUs in the U.S., but USIT has declined to prioritize the evaluation of that solution to be approved. That doesn't mean that it can't be used in your organization, but it hasn't been vetted, and there's no plans to do so based on the prioritization of the U.S. Technology team. We get questions about that with several technology solutions that are out there in the field. Any number of those solutions can be used by your organization, but not all of them are going to be vetted or approved by USIT. Finally, I want to give a big shout out to our OTP program. Technicians working in our restaurants have been very instrumental in managing and solving several of our system-wide issues throughout 2023 and already even in 2024. We're extremely proud of this program. We're proud of our partners at True who have managed this program for the last several years, and of our incredibly talented technicians who are working hard across all of our organizations to keep our technology running. Your owner representatives at MTech have expressed some apprehension about this OTP training moving under the umbrella of the Learning and Development team. We do feel that technology maintenance training is extremely different than restaurant operations training. So we're going to continue to be involved and raise concerns as the program continues to evolve and those plan changes take effect. That's all I have for an update, and I believe I'm passing it over to Christina.
Thank you, Jonathan. Appreciate everyone's time today for presenting. We'll move now into Q&A. So, Jonathan, we do have a couple questions that just came in. So the first one that we have, one second. Does Workforce Management replace Altimetrics?
Yes. The answer is yes. Altimetrics is one solution that we're currently using today. In the future, when you get ready to deploy, you will be able to choose between LifeLens or Harry. There are some rumors going around that you'll be able to keep Altimetrics if you want. That is a discussion that's being had, but I will tell you we will save, as a system, we will save a significant amount of money out of our tech fees if we retire Altimetrics in our system and go straight with LifeLens or Harry. The feature set in those solutions are incredible. My organization is completely on the LifeLens solution. Several organizations in California are only the LifeLens or Harry, and hopefully that we can get every organization in the system to convert over so that we can save the support and maintenance costs that are involved with maintaining that third platform.
Thank you. So moving now into some of the priority team questions. Kevin Lilly, a couple questions came in for PACE. So the first one we have, we are one system. Why is our Ops PACE portal separated into BU?
Thank you very much, Christina. I appreciate the question. Currently, that's one thing that the PACE team continues to work with MHQ on, is we feel it should not be segmented by BU, but because of the segmentation that is being currently used on the PACE system that categorizes your store in pillar 1, 2, or 3, that's why the segmentation is there by BU. It is our belief that we operate under one franchise system and one set of standards, and technically it really should be, we should be segmented by the system, but we have also stated that we could compromise and move to it being segmented by field office. So that would be, there would be 10 different segments, but that segmentation would go. But we totally agree it should not be by the BU.
Thank you. Another question, Kevin. Do you have or know the current national pass rate % for customer first visits?
Last year we were a little bit over, I think, 76.4% of the visits were passed, and that's where we came up with the 75% pass rate for CFVs for every organization, or for each organization would be fair, and that was the national number through the end of November, which was about 96% of the OEA visits last year. That visit now turns to customer first visit in 2024.
Perfect. And then another one in regards to first cup fill. So why have first cup fill questions been added to RGR and CFV questioning and assessments prior to the second ABS NRBES deadline in 2030?
Here again, appreciate the question. We agree also with whoever asked the question. We feel like that standard shouldn't be added to the RGR until the NRBES goes into effect. However, MHQ feels like that, and their position is our service system should be first cup filled. That way everyone is treated the same, and that the operation can fill the cup out of the singular ABS. And of course, we feel like there's a lot of operational blocks with that. So we continue to have dialogue with MHQ on that, and the PACE team is very, very adamant that that should be delayed. However, at this time, it is on the RGR form, and that is a standard because McDonald's says our service standard should be first cup fill.
Thanks, Kevin.
You bet.
Okay. Michael Retzer, a question came in regards to failure rate among registered applicants. So what is the failure rate amongst registered applicants? I don't see him off mute, so I'll move on to the next one. Okay, Kevin Moore, if you're on, we have a few economics questions that came in. So the first one we have, total cash flows are increasing, but cash flow is not outpacing inflation. The buying power is still being reduced, even though cash flow is up.
Well, cash flow increase was, well, I don't have December's final numbers, but based on an estimate of December, cash flow is going to be up $36,000 in 2023, which is a 7.9% increase, and inflation was 3.4%. So we were up basically double the rate of inflation.
Thank you, Kevin. Another question for economics. Are we addressing the financials of low volume restaurants? They don't cash flow enough to handle the reinvestment requirements.
I certainly feel your pain. I've got a 1.5 store that cash flows $110,000. But we have to be careful there when we start to talk about cash flow in low volume stores. They'd be happy to address those, but it comes to the expense of the cash flow in high volume stores. So, you know, they could talk about lowering the rent in your 1.5 store, but they're going to want to raise your rent in the $6 million store to make up for it. So we have to be careful on those conversations.
Thank you. And then another one for economics. What is being done to improve delivery economics? Are we trying to get McDonald's to reduce rent and service fees?
Well, we dug into delivery economics for about 5 months and came up with what I think was an accurate portrayal of it. And we did an economics education session on that. And at the national average markup, which is 21%, the economics of a delivery order are roughly the same as an in-store order. So delivery is profitable, and it's a channel we need to grow. It doesn't feel like it when you're looking at that delivery fee line on your P&L, but you have to keep in mind that up there in the top line on sales, you've got that 21% markup that's in the sales. So the delivery is roughly the same as an in-store order.
Thank you.
You guys all good? I didn't think you did. Well, I was like, just give me back out.
Sounds like Retzer's here.
Yes, I'm trying to unmute. Michael, can you hear us? All right. Let's move on to the next question. Jonathan McGuire or Christian, if you're able to answer. Okay, I think I've got that muted. Christian or Jonathan, what is the outlook for getting a supply of outdoor digital menu board panels so we can replace the huge amount of fading boards?
I was waiting for Christian to answer, but this is Jonathan. I'll take a crack at it. We went through a process last year where we had a huge backlog of failed boards, and there was a supply chain issue getting the boards in, as well as an issue with the supplier getting technicians out to do the replacements. We've worked through that after quite a long battle. To my knowledge, and I'll get this corrected if I'm wrong, the supply chain issue has been, eased up quite a bit. We do have the boards in supply. The answer that nobody's going to like is that the expected life on those panels is 5 years. So we're starting to see a lot more fading and sun damage and stuff like that after 5 years in use, at which point that they are kind of expected to be replaced. To my knowledge, there's not a supply chain issue on the replacement boards, but there may be still some struggle getting technicians to install them. The best way to handle that is to work with your NCR representative to get a quote on replacing the boards if they're out of warranty and get a timeline on replacement.
Thank you, Jonathan. I think Michael Rosser was able to get his line unmuted, so we have a couple of questions that came in. The first one, why is McDonald's placing next-gen candidates on hold when an organization is placed in cure? The development of our next-gens must be a priority.
Yeah, good afternoon. Sorry for the mute issues, but it's good to be with you. I hope everyone's off to a good year. So, yeah, this is something we've had a little discussion and probably need to have more. The latest numbers on cure are, I believe, almost 7.5% of the organizations are in some form of the cure process. I believe it's just under 130 restaurants and 92 or 3 organizations. But, yeah, I think McDonald's perspective on that is that if the organization goes into cure, that needs to be their focus. Obviously, they want to make sure that the organization is in a great place. But it does shut down the process, and obviously they've made it, given the numbers, seemingly easier to get into the cure. So we're going to continue to have conversations with them because obviously we know people development never stops, and we believe that should be the case with our next gens as well. And as to the question that was asked before when I couldn't get off mute about the failures of recent RAs, we've asked for a specific number from McDonald's. They haven't given us that. We are aware of a handful of cases when an operator or a registered applicant or a former company person has come into the system and left the system in a few cases within 12 months or less. And so, we're keeping track and keeping an eye on it. Obviously, it takes quite a while, as most of us know, to develop a balance sheet, to develop a strong, stable organization. And so we've got to make sure that we're setting up the future McDonald's owners to succeed with the training that they need.
I filled it out. We go down.
Okay. Can somebody mute whoever that is? But, yeah, so we're keeping an eye on it. If you hear of cases in your BU, please make sure and let your NFLA rep know so that we can be aware of that circumstance and that issue.
We absolutely could do. All right. Thank you, Michael. And then one more. Any update on McDonald's requiring rebuild on rewrites for locations 40 years or older?
Yeah, we've talked to Mason and Gino about that. Danielle and I have, and along with you, Christina, the last 3 or 4 weeks in a row. I think it was just surprising. They're investigating those circumstances, and obviously they maintain that the conversation should be happening at the field office level with the vice president, with the ops officer, and that no one will be required to do a rebuild with a 30-day notice. They've maintained that to us, and we're going to continue to have the conversation. One other subject I want to talk about just briefly is NRBES. And obviously, we came through a period of time through COVID, and when McDonald's really wasn't emphasizing or inspecting and following up on NRBS like they have through the first half, through the back half of last year and the first little bit of this year. There's basically been inconsistent practices that have been brought to my attention and many others that have happened as it relates to NRBS, where it be, your restaurants are inspected before the business review, and in some cases you get followed up on prior to the review. In other cases, you have no follow-up prior to the review, and there's other inconsistencies going on. I had a good conversation with Val last week, and he tells me that they're going to bring in all the ops officers in March and calibrate so that there's consistent practices happening across the system as it relates to NRBES. And, we continue to have conversations with them about specific items that we feel like are obsolete and or don't make a whole lot of sense. For example, one of those would be the radius table locators. And, we're going to continue to do that. And I hope that in the coming days and months that we can get some of these items where the business has changed or the business has shifted to get McDonald's to update the NRBES. So that'll certainly be a focus of the work we do this year.
Thanks, Michael. A question came in regards to Cosmates. What's the word on Cosmates? Is this a future competitor for our traditional McDonald's restaurants? Danielle, would you be able to answer that one?
Sure. So certainly after the Investor Day and all of the hype and the media and subsequent areas around Cosmix, we had quite a few questions submitted and conversations with McDonald's in mid-December around Cosmix. I think for all of us, it's an example of the breadth and depth of change that is happening both in our McDonald's and also industry. For many of us that have been in the business for decades, we're familiar with McDonald's going brands that they weren't using the option or using many items that are similar or the same as closely as what we sell in our restaurants, such as the Egg McMuffin. So what we know is that, of course, there's the one restaurant that's open in the Chicago suburb. I believe it's Bolingbrook. And there are 9 others that are in some form of development for Texas. McDonald's has assured us that 2024 is going to be a learning and or a beta test, and this is a global initiative. By the end or fourth quarter is when they will start to read results, and then there will be further decisions and or discussions. It certainly looks and appears from those that have visited in the system in various capacities as it is a competitor to us. And McDonald's has assured us that for the 9 in Texas that will be near franchise locations, there will be conversations around how impact will be considered. We have not seen or heard any more of that. I know that the NSLC, that MTEC, and OPNAD have each submitted questions to their territories, and we have submitted questions to Mason as it relates. And as we understand, late spring or early summer, there may be more conversation. But right now, we've been assured that it's all just very premature and it's a global team. That's really what I know about Cosmix.
Thank you, Danielle. David Costa question came in regards to people. We need to get the McDonald's training materials in sync with what we are being graded on. Training materials are not aligned. Can you provide an update on this?
Yes, hi everyone. And yeah, I've actually found that myself as well and provided that feedback to the training team. My understanding is that they have now updated the Fred training materials to reflect the same information that is on the new PACE customer-facing visits. I have asked them to please review the customer-facing visits as well as the RGRs and to try to help call out those things that are most important on those visits. One example would be using the customer's name, both at the order point and then again at the pickup or at the pay window. And right now it was not there. They've told me they have just added it. And my understanding also is that we can get it to be bigger and bolder so that we can call out the importance of that, considering the point values that has on there. So I believe it's being addressed, but if there are more issues, then please feel free to let me know so that we can ensure that we resolve it. Thanks.
Thank you, David. So I know we're at time. We will be answering all the questions that came in through Slido and the chat box offline. So thank you all who joined our call today. We appreciate those who presented. We hope that this call was valuable and that it helped to bring focus around what the NFLAEP team leads and members are working on in 2024. Our priorities remain the same as we understand there were successes and strides forward in 2023, but we are cognizant of the fact that there's still much work to be done. We continue to work with McDonald's on ways to evolve our business while addressing our challenges in a real and transparent manner. As Danielle mentioned in her opening, we have 13 newly elected NFLA reps. We ask that you continue to engage with your reps. We want to hear from you. Your input and feedback is vital to our alignment as an owner-operator body. As elected leaders, we are committed to representing your voice. As you heard from Celia, David, and Kevin around the 3 priority areas, there is work to be done. I also want to take a moment to thank Celia for her commitment and dedication as the economics team lead these last few years. Celia will be working with Kevin Moore, NFLA Economics Officer, on her successor. Please keep an eye out as the next 2 field briefs will have more information on the economics team lead position opening up and how to submit your nomination. In addition to these 3 priority areas, Jimmy Williams and the GR team continue to advocate, serve, and lead on our behalf as the federal and state landscape continues to change and evolve rapidly. The NFLA communications team will be working on a recap from this call, along with a Q&A document to answer the questions we did not get to today. We'll be sending it out along with the 2024 calendar, the 2024 NFLA org chart with contact information, a 1-page resource guide for owner-operators that we will update as necessary, and the key messaging for our priority areas that were presented earlier today. And lastly, I just wanted to recognize the NFLA reps who have cycled off. They're listed on the screen. Thank you all for your engagement and all your participation as NFLA reps. Hope you all have a great rest of your week, and we appreciate you all being on. Have a great day.